Hello, I'm John Gage. Today I'll be talking with Chris Melissinos, Sun's Chief Gaming Officer, about Java technology, network computing, and the exploding video game industry. All this and more on this edition of Direct Access. Chris, for game developers, the technologies that support their development are the most important things. What technologies does Sun provide?
So we focus on two different pieces of the technologies that a game developer would need. The first are client-side technologies. So what we leverage is Java technologies across multiple clients. A lot of the work that the Games Technologies Group at Sun has been doing is building components for high-performance game development on a Java client. So by example, how do we go ahead and provide components in Java technology for a developer to write a game once and run it, let's say, on a Windows platform and a Linux platform and a Mac platform without having to rewrite code or rewrite components?
Are there server-side technologies that would link people or peer-to-peer technologies that would link people?
Sure, and this has been the biggest problem that the games industry has faced to date. As the rush in the demand for network-based gaming and online games has emerged, networking has always kind of been a secondary thought, right? It's all about, I'm going to build the best user experience, I'm going to build the best user gameplay with the prettiest graphics and the greatest environments. Networking, that's the easy stuff, right? Well, it turns out it's not quite as easy as most game developers have thought. So what we've done is we've taken a lot of our expertise in building those network technologies and are bringing those to bear in the game development community. One example of this is a set of technologies we've been working on, which we have labeled the Sun Gaming Server. And the Sun Gaming Server really provides a platform-agnostic, game-agnostic server technology for game developers.
Now, does this relate directly to the client side, or are these independent technologies?
These are independent technologies. However, there are certain benefits that a developer would get by utilizing Java technologies on the client and communicating back to that server, such as seamless integration, not having to rewrite some lower-level components.
A small group of developers, geographically dispersed, could become a company able to compete with Microsoft and Halo, or with Sony and a variety of the game developers that are very concentrated, and start, well, do you have examples?
Absolutely. We have some screenshots of some games that are currently in development. Everything from what's typically known as a first-person shooter, right? You've got your guns, they've got their guns, and they're running around, which is demonstrated right here. This is a game that's in development by a company called Agency 9 in Sweden. And what you're seeing here in this screenshot are things like volumetric lighting, real-time light sourcing, real-time shadows. Very, very compute-intensive, very, very demanding in terms of client hardware. This is an engine that is built entirely in Java, using Java technologies, and specifically the APIs that Sun has released to the open source community.
Now, describe the commercial environment for this.
Well, Lineage, which is the most successful, what's called massively multiplayer game in the marketplace today, has about 2.6 million people, all paying NCSoft, which is the company, about $15 a month to play in this game, which absorbs about 20 hours a week of the player's time on average. 2
times 15 is $30 million a month cash flow generated by, as at the beginning, this 2 or 3 people with some Linux boxes.
Exactly, exactly. And so you're entering a space where you're now able to give very small developers the tools and the technology for them to compete on a global level with some of these bigger companies.
What was the response to the gaming component of Sun?
It was Bill Joy demonstrating Genie technology at the 1998 National Sales Meeting, where it really just struck me as a gamer the enormous potential for the connectivity of very dissimilar devices across a network, the enormous potential for gameplay, for community-based communication. It was at that point that I started writing emails to everybody, including you, about the potential for this. Now, you're selling games to the company who was pretty much at the center of the internet explosion. Very difficult thing to do. You want to push a big boulder. Well, there's a boulder to push, right? Games in a company focused on the internet at the time. But it wasn't a message that was lost. on the executives and people that supported him. It took roughly 2 years to get going. When we did, the response has been rolling support, right? Has one that's been growing because games are real business, right? This is massive amounts of money, huge opportunity for companies like Sun that have an expertise in building these environments. To put it in perspective, if you look at the size of the video games market as it pertains to, let's say, Sony. Sony's a company that started around World War II fixing transistor radios. Been around for a very long time. Since the introduction of the PlayStation product in 1994, the PlayStation brand accounts for over 60% of Sony's revenue as a corporation.
What thoughts do you have for those that would like to become game developers? What should they do? Should they immediately download the kinds of codes that allow them to start building games? Should they come to the conferences? Should they subscribe to magazines? What should they do?
Okay, so an excellent question. And I think the very first thing you need to understand is that it's not all fun, right? There's very serious compute technologies going on here. There's very deep math. Right? There's very deep network understanding. There's very deep language understanding. It's not just about building pretty games that you can show off to your friends. So go into it understanding that, right? That it's very serious compute technology. After that, I would look at college courses for universities that the young developers are looking at going into. I would look at conferences like the Game Developers Conference, to be sure. Also, I would look at the tracks we're going to be running at Java 1. Again, every year we seem to get a couple of more in there that focus on gameplay and game development. Subscribing to technical magazines like Game Developer Magazine, absolutely important. And I would go check out java.net and the games community there.
Chris Melissinos, Chief Gaming Officer for Sun Microsystems, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
I'm John Gage. Thanks for watching this edition of Direct Access.